Welcome to The Bone, the podcast that goes deeper. Here we cut through the noise and get straight to the core of the issues that matter. From real stories to raw truths, we dive deep into the conversations that shape our world and challenge our thinking. We're not afraid to dig in and get to the marrow of it all. Whether it's life, culture, or business in sports medicine, we're here to break it down raw and real. No filters, no fluff, just to the bone. With your host, Shelby Daly, we're getting to the bone. This is a clinically pressed, approved CEU podcast. Find the quiz to gain credit at clinicallypressed.org/courses. Clinically Pressed Company, making the complicated simple through results that give back. Find out more at clinicallypressed.org. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Bone. Today we have Tyler Lesher, and he is an athletic trainer that is all over the place. Recently he was at UCLA, and now he's in Texas doing private care. He created the Advanced Rehab Certification, the ARC, and just summited his first EscaLAte Sports Medicine and Performance Conference this past summer. These are some big feats, and I wanted to pick his brain on how he decided to even put this together and the process that it took to put, these professional events on for athletic trainers. What is your favorite thing about athletic training, and why do you feel that you need to contribute this much to it?
First and foremost, thanks for having me on here. Favorite thing of athletic training is by far and large patient care, right? Athlete care is priority for me. It always has been. It's if there was never that connection with the athletes, it would be absolutely, I think, a horrendous job. But the athletes, by far, what keep me very excited and keep me motivated on my day to day. And that's probably what kind of started everything with EscaLAte and ARC, was just making sure that, I feel like as athletic trainers, we all have that same mindset when it comes to our athletes. But just making sure that, that my my motivation with my athletes and, the care that I have to get them to where they need to be, I hope that I can, give a portion of that to other athletic trainers so that they do the same with their athletes. So that's probably like the big piece to the puzzle for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think athletic training is in such a unique position because how much time we actually get with our patient cases. Everybody, other specialties, you have to pay so much to go see them, make sure insurance covers it. You only get to see them maybe once a week, once a month. It's very minimal. Where athletic training, we get to see them maybe twice a day. And I don't think people realize how valuable that is. So,
Right. Yeah, it's a free flowing type of relationship, that's for sure. I mean, it's an undervalued uh profession, but it's valued by the stakeholders, as in, the athletes, the coaches, like they understand our value.
mhm.
The value coming from everywhere else is probably not there, simply because I just feel like most people don't know exactly what we do specifically. So um but yeah, I mean, that's a conversation we could go down if you want. But overall, I mean, yeah, it's the athletes, they know our value, and obviously that's what keeps the ball rolling for us.
Well, I think, I'm in my doctorate right now, and we keep trying to explore that. How do we get athletic trainers to understand the value in dollar signs? I think we have our
Yeah,
blinders so tight that we're just trying to get adequate patient care most of the time. We're so busy. So
yeah,
we don't understand that, every time we touch a patient, work with a patient, that's dollar signs technically in any other setting. And we
yep,
are kind of just giving it away for free. I've said it's basically socialized healthcare to an extent.
yeah,
And people are getting so much treatment in a great amount of time, and they don't understand how much those touch points actually cost. And I don't
right,
know if third-party reimbursement's really going to help. I mean, other healthcare providers are struggling with reimbursement right now too, but I think cash payment is the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah,
What you're in private care,
absolutely.
so you tell me.
Yeah, uh, it was a long journey to get here. I mean, like even when I was at UCLA, we would always talk about like what is it going to take for us to get paid more.
Hmm.
Even though like UCLA is a top tier university and whatnot, that doesn't mean that they pay the best. It doesn't mean, and from the men's basketball athletic trainer down to water polo, they do not get paid equally or anything like that. And the fact of
Yeah.
the matter is like the living in LA also is not cheap. On top of it, it doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum. If you're men's basketball or water polo, it doesn't matter. No shame on water polo, but it's just as an example. But um, the transition to cash base is by far what is needed. That's what I've done in my private practice, even when I was at UCLA and working with private clients out in LA.
Hmm.
Now I'm a little spoiled. I work with one athlete and I'm on a 3-year contract with him, and it's just me and him. So obviously there's a lot of pros and not very many cons with that. But I think that our profession in general has to change some type of landscape when it comes to um, our approach. I typically have been on the side, and I get a lot of flack for this, and I understand it, that we need to be on coaching contracts because you can get paid more. But you also know that, if the coach gets fired or leaves, like there's a chance that you're going to get fired or leave too.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't like that, but I stand on the side that you can make more on a coaching contract, even in a 3 to 4 year span, than you would in probably 10 years working as a staff athletic trainer. Um, and I'll also be 100%, open. This is probably only applies to, men's basketball and football. Like, I don't know exactly how that would work out in the other settings. I have been very narrow-minded in that I've only ever worked men's basketball. So like I have a
Hmm.
very specific lens that I look through, and not open to a lot of the other issues that like other athletic trainers have or anything like that. So that's one piece to it. But I think that if anybody wants to go private or needs uh a second job, by far cash base is where it's at. And
Yeah,
then I would also go
I
as
would
far as
definitely
saying
agree.
like, finding ways that aren't uh so taxing on I shouldn't say, like, I would say time taxing, like you said, anytime somebody's on the table, it is costing you time. Like you are working on that patient. Um, it's one of the reasons why I started ARC. It's a way that I could fill a void in athletic training that I saw, but I could also get paid by numerous amounts of athletic trainers and PTs that, it doesn't cost me like one-to-one clinic hours, right? So
Hmm.
um, I would also urge athletic trainers to find ways to put together programs, put together some type of business model. Some like we all have ideas. We all have things that we want to do and want to achieve. I just feel like a lot of athletic trainers don't necessarily know what steps to make to turn that idea into a business. Because
Hmm.
we didn't go through business school, right? Like
Yeah.
there was nothing that was ever taught to me during my ATEP program that said, "Hey, this is how you go from the idea that you have to making it a LLC or anything like that, and then actually making money." So um,
Yep.
that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a great point of how do you be efficient with your time? I mean, we've kind of started going down this path of individual patient care, so not cookie cuttering things, but at the same time, if you have a good enough program to cookie cutter, you're going to make more money that way. That's just business, being
Yeah.
efficient with your time. And you can do that in ways like prevention, activation, warm up, which is technically making your job easier at the end of the day if you have a good enough program that are addressing some of the common injuries or conditions, problems that your team is going to come up against during season. We're smart
Hmm.
enough to know trends and look at the biomechanics and stuff. Why aren't we utilizing those skills a little bit more heartily? And, with the secondary insurance debate that we keep getting ourselves into, technically those are the routes to decrease your secondary insurance rates, is by having programs that you have outcomes with. They
Right.
like that type of data, not necessarily I'm working with 10 athletes with ankle injury or ankle sprains, whatever, I'm putting in XYZ ICD code. This is how much I'm saving the company, the department, whatever. They don't care about that because that is still a cost associated with it. If you're
Yeah.
actually decreasing that cost with these programs, which are more cookie cutter, that's what they're a little bit more interested in, because they never got to the point of being on the table.
Well, they don't care, and why would they do anything about it if you're saving them money? What are they going to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
they're not going to give you a portion of that. Big Brother's always taking that in. That's just the nature of
That
business.
money never
Um,
existed, technically.
exactly. And especially in the world of athletics, especially at the higher level, these universities run at such a debt already
Yep.
that by the time that money, just say they get, I'll give you a perfect example. UCLA joins the Big Ten, big change from the
Mm-hmm.
Pac-12 to the Big Ten. They were supposed to get, I don't know, a shit ton of money, for lack of better words. And all of us kind of sat there, were like, man, is this going to be like our big kind of like our time to where we're going to get paid finally, and at least like get a bump, or we're at the a top two conference. It's either us or the SEC. I was like, man, like there's going to be a lot of money coming in here. And then a year goes by, and then another year goes by, and then we're sitting there going like, where isn't this coming in? And then you start realizing there's so many people along that chain, obviously from admin to ads to whoever, that are
Mm-hmm.
going to touch that money first before it even looks at the athletic training staff. And on top of it, that doesn't even include all the debt that the university had to pay prior to that to just come out of somewhat of a operating budget, because we all know it costs a ton of money to have teams travel, football travel, this, that, whatever, whatever. So it's just, in my opinion, never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, and this is a bit of a whim, but unless you are with a Power Four school, football, men's or women's basketball, and the occasional like high powered like sport that a university might have, it just doesn't quite ever make sense to be in this profession from that level, because from a monetary sense, because it's never going to make sense. And the flip side of that, or the caveat, is unless you are at a SEC school or something like that, where you're living out in the middle of nowhere and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Like Alabama, that's in Tuscaloosa. That town has like 20,000 people in it. If student, and, when school's not in town, it costs
Yeah.
2 cents to live there. So you can get a
Mm-hmm.
job and make 50,000 and be okay. The real question is, for a lot of people, and I face this a lot, and the answer is still no, was would I be comfortable like taking a job in a place like that, and not having the um it's like, sure, like your dollar goes a lot further, but it's like I'm sitting here in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, like am I okay with it? For me, that wasn't
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to make money in athletic training, that's probably the only way. It's either that or private.
Yep. Well, and going back to the coach's contract comment you made. So
Mhm.
I had Mark from UCLA on at one point to try to talk about the financials and get a better understanding
Reichling?
of how that. Yep.
Okay.
He's awesome. But so we were trying to talk about the dynamics of understanding the fiscal budget at a Division I college.
Same.
And we kind of tried to play with some ideas of, there's the coach's contract, which technically you're kind of always secured a job, because wherever the coach goes, you have a guaranteed job no matter what.
Yep.
But I was also thinking, since I have experience at UCLA, with the partnership with UCLA medicine, would the contract better be fit from the hospital standpoint, since you're already working with them
Yep.
providing the contract and then just place you into the athletic training room? I know there's still some caveats in politics with that also,
Yep.
but would that be a stronger relationship than being in the actual athletic department?
I think that there's the potential for it. I One thing that then people run into, and I think USC has kind of run into this a little bit, is um, like as when I was at UCLA, like I knew almost my exact hours because we practiced the same time and whatnot, and it was like
Yeah,
sometimes I sniffed 40 hours, sometimes it was like in the off season, right? Like 8 hours a week. Like I mean, it was nothing in season. You're probably pushing it up to 60. All in
yep,
all, it all probably like evens out throughout the year. But if you're on that medical contract, you have to hit 40 hours every single week.
yeah,
So those off days where you just go in for, 90 minutes of treatment, it's not like that anymore. You're still there from 9 to 5, just
yep,
sitting there punching a clock. So there are some like give and takes with it. The other thing too is like you're also following by true like medical model uh pieces and think of everything from
standards
like
of practice.
standards of practice to cleaning to like I mean everything, right? The like
Yeah,
doctors, nurses, CNAs, like all these people like have to follow. It's not something athletic trainers are used to. They're not. It's a big hurdle. It's a big change. Now, if it comes with a $50,000 pay raise, I'll learn whatever the hell you guys want me to do. I'll practice however, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll do whatever the hell it takes. But most of the time, I don't think that's the case. And I've talked to some of my peers where their schools have transitioned to that medical model, and
hmm,
they have said that it's not always the case to be so like so clean and easy to work for that for a hospital. I think that there's the
yep.
potential for it. I think it makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's going to come with a lot of pros and a lot of cons, I'm sure, with it.
Well, it's the debate of safety, balancing safety and freedom.
Yep.
What are you willing to give up? The freedom's going to be more risky, but you have, more flexible hours.
Hmm.
You get maybe your summers
Better,
off a
probably
little
better
bit easier.
lifestyle. Yeah,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
tough. I mean, I take
it's
freedom.
hard
I
because,
always have.
yeah, the season's going to suck because you're putting in the extra 20 or so hours, but then the off season, summertime, you're working from home remotely, working
Yep.
from the beach on your vacation, you're still available, however it works out. But that's where I think athletic trainers don't understand. If you really want a work life balance, however you define that, usually it's hours, I would think.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's the pay, but like, what are you willing to give up to make sure that you get that? And the
Right.
best way to do that is really working on your own and being a private athletic
A
trainer.
100%. Yeah, it 100% is. There's just, and even this is like, even my current position, it's pretty risky. Like
Hmm.
my athlete could get pissed off, he could get hurt. Like I mean, something could happen, and just, next thing I know, I'm out here in Dallas going like, well, now what? Instead of like the safety net of UCLA where I could have stayed there my entire life and, been perfectly happy and, just kind of played that game.
Yeah.
But this was a better scenario for me. Like who doesn't want to work just like with one person forever, right? Um,
That's the
so
best schedule.
exactly. I mean, my schedule today is incredible. I'll probably work like 2 hours. It's the best, but
Yeah.
um, it's definitely like there's a lot of risk and a lot of reward within this world of being private, but I think that if people do it and they do it right, um the reward by far outweighs the risk.
Yeah.
And there's
Well,
so
and that's
many
a
people that are hurt and like they get hurt and that are willing to pay privately that also have
mhm.
money that I think that there's enough pieces of the pie for everybody. Like not everybody has to go to a physical therapist. Like the difference is that we just people, as in the general public, don't entirely know what athletic trainers do, and nobody's
Yep.
ever going to pay for something that they don't know what they're going to get out of it. When people hear the words physical therapy, they know exactly what that means. When they hear strength and conditioning, they know exactly what that means.
Raise the bar in 2025. Complete your BOC certification maintenance requirements early. Don't forget that 2025 is a reporting year for athletic trainers. Are you on track to complete your BOC certification maintenance requirements? Find out today by logging into your BOC profile at bocatc.org/BOC360. That's right, it's time, and this year is the year to renew your certification maintenance requirements. Check it out at bocatc.org/BOC360.
Comfortable, low profile, flexible, and easy to put on, the Vero ankle brace is simply the best ankle brace for those who move. And that's just about everybody. This brace is adaptable for any phase of injury recovery, whether you're recovering from an ankle sprain, require extra support for your day-to-day, or want to boost your performance. The Vero ankle brace delivers. The Vero ankle brace uses every movement and every step to give you extra boost. The 3-in-1 brace can be worn on either foot, making it the most optimal ankle brace for injury recovery and prevention. The removable stirrups, easy adjust Velcro, and breathable design adapt to your ankle as your strength returns, helping to protect you from re-injury. A dynamic support brace designed by leading orthopedic foot and ankle surgeons. The Vero ankle brace effortlessly adapt to your movements, offering dynamic energy return and support with each step. VeroAnkle.com. Check it out for yourself. VeroAnkle.com. That's VeroAnkle.com.
When they hear personal trainer, they know exactly what that means. When you hear athletic trainer, they don't know what that means. And that's not the people's fault. That's not athletic trainers' fault. That's just the way the cookie is crumbled, for lack of better words. And yes, now we're all on a giant tirade of going we have to be heard. We have to, kind of get our flowers because, it's the only way that people are going to understand what we do. And the shitty thing is, the only way that's going to happen is on the bigger stages, like in the NFL, when players get hurt and people see it on public TV and they see the people go out there and be like, that person saved their life or whatever that's the only way it'll happen. Or the second way it'll happen, in my opinion, is if every athletic trainer goes on strike where sports cannot be played. And then everybody's going to be sitting there because just think of every, sports better, every, whoever it is, right? Well, why isn't there NFL on Sunday? Well, every athletic trainer is on strike. They can't play because it's not deemed safe for them to play. They're like, why?
Yeah.
Because they don't get paid enough money. They're going to be like, pay them all 40,000 more, or something like that. Like, everybody will pay for it if it's gone. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've said that, wait for the NCAA basketball championship to come around or the tournament, and just every athletic trainer say, nah, we're going on strike. Everybody will have a raise like that because it's going to cost way too much money to not have those games played than it would to just give people bumps. And it's happened before. I just think it needs to happen on a grand scale.
Yeah. Well, and I guess to counter that a bit, other than having regulations of requiring an athletic trainer on the sideline, right now I think we're even seeing it with the shortage that some people think that there is, I think, going on. Will other stakeholders move into the position of athletic trainers? I mean, we're already seeing paramedics, EMTs coming in and covering tournaments. Physical therapists are starting to learn emergency care. So I think we have to be careful with the strike.
Absolutely.
I think that would set a precedence. But at the same time, it's a free market. So I think somebody else will step up and swoop that up under us pretty quickly.
It either goes one of which way. It either like works in everyone's favor or it backfires
Yeah.
completely. But like you just
Yeah.
said, we are, excuse me, physical therapists are one or two emergency management classes away from taking every position from us.
Yep. Yeah.
That's just the reality of
I
it.
don't.
If a physical therapy program came out and said, "Hey, look, we're going to offer emergency management," we're fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
that's just the
mean,
truth
no,
of
I
it.
believe that. But I have to also think that they went into physical therapy to work in an office too, so I don't know if they would be doing the sideline care
Yeah.
technically.
Well,
But, that's just a uh an
yeah. Who knows?
observation for some athletic or some physical therapists.
Hmm.
But I think you bring up a good point of the safety net portion. And I think you've done a great job of creating safety nets in, two different ways with your private practice. But I also think that there's an exclusivity that athletic trainers need to start to present with the skills that we have.
Yep.
You see these concierge doctors. I think
Hmm.
we would be a perfect segue into that because we're actually going to not just inject and give drugs, but we can evaluate, refer, and do a treatment right there on the spot. So I think that's where we need to kind of start shifting our attention because the sports business model does not care about us. And I do
Hmm.
not think it's strong enough to actually support the support staff other than the coaches because they are the main decision makers, but they still don't value how much work we put into the prevention, the preparation, the conditioning, all those different things that we actually provide a team for the performance aspect. So I
Yep.
think that this, concierge thing could really catch on. Before we get into the safety nets, what are some of the hurdles that you feel have limited you into getting into the private practice at this point in time?
I mean, the biggest thing for me was I think that like when I was at UCLA, I was everything that was brought to me outside of UCLA was through word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had people like begin to reach out to me because they would see me on like one of my players' stories or something like that, and they'd be like, "Oh, like if you work with him, like I'm dealing with this issue. Would you mind coming to work with me?" Um,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest hurdle by far is just like any pro or any business is you have to have enough clientele to sustain yourself, throughout however much it uh, costs to live. Um, as I kind of went through this whole process, I mean, my goal from the moment I came into athletic training, my first year in the NBA, I was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I watched LeBron work with his athletic trainer. His name was Mike Mancias, who went through the same internship that I did. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, like this is his own guy. Like he just does, he only works with him. That's got to be the best thing ever, right? Like you only focus on that. My whole my that's been the goal forever, as long as I came in the athletic training, because I saw how that whole thing worked. And it was the biggest hurdle, right, is finding somebody who has enough money to pay you and that trusts you enough and that you also trust enough to leave your safety net and, go full time with that one person or two people or whatever it might be. I do
Yeah.
think that there are a lot of new practices or clinics. I will call them like sports performance clinics. They're opening up for like I think athletic trainers could thrive in, where they are
Mm-hmm.
making better money. It's cash based, and you probably have, like you're running athletes through who are there on their summer breaks, their off seasons, whatever it might be. And I think that is another valuable door for athletic trainers to also look into, just as a
Yeah.
caveat.
Yeah. I definitely have seen a shift of athletic trainers starting to go into gyms, which
Hmm.
makes sense. Your
Yeah.
risk management, but then you're also there if somebody wants or needs or has questions, which is
Yep.
the basic setup in an athletic department. Um,
Right.
Did you have any problems getting physician oversight?
No, the Mavericks out here have been great. The other thing, with their staff of helping me out, they have a awesome vision of pretty much, like we're all on one team, and we're as one person succeeds, we all succeed. So, that's been pretty easy to do that, or from that standpoint.
Gotcha. Would there be anything else that an athletic trainer would need to consider if they want to go into private practice and might be difficult to, other than getting somebody that will pay?
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough because there's so many like variables with it to where like people always ask like, like, hey, I want to do what you did. Like I want to start in the G League. I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, all right, are you single? Like, do you have kids? Do you like, there's so many like variables like that. It's like I probably would have never been able to make it to where I did if I was married with three kids, right? Like there was
Mm-hmm.
so much moving and like all these different like obstacles. Like when I was with the Hornets, I moved every 6 months for 4 years, back and
Yeah.
forth, and then I went to Florida, and then like all over the places. Like you're not doing that with a family,
Yeah.
and the uh as much as people, I guess, like athletic trainers kind of like covet this role, the biggest thing is like you have to make sure that again the dollars make sense and that like you have enough to sustain you to leave that safety net. Because if you do
Yeah.
go private, there's like other things to think about that like I didn't fully understand. Like you have to pay for your own benefits. You have to start your own company. Like you have to pay that to to the state. Like
Yep.
benefits aren't cheap. Like all these things add up, right? And then next thing you know, you're like,
Yep.
wow, like it's not just my rent, my groceries, or this or that. It's rent, groceries, this, that, the benefits. Yeah, you got because we have to advertise ourselves, so and that's all social media, so content creation, probably
Yep.
marketing team, like for instance, like I have a PR team now to help like push all this stuff, manage ads to get continuous clients, so that like if you have like 5 or 6 routine ones, or routine clients that you're working with, you're still going to have to fill in the gaps throughout the day, to
Yep.
sustain yourself. So there's just so many like pieces like that you're like, it's like great until you start like adding it all up and you're like, damn, this all of a sudden the
I
job
should
at
have
UCLA
negotiated
wasn't
for
so
more.
bad, or yeah, whatever it might have been, right? And like, don't get me wrong, I'm in a absolute incredible position, but there's
Yeah.
just so many different ways to like um look at it and make sure that's like, all right, like if you are gonna go private, like look at the grandiose picture of like, sure, there's a lot more free time, but make sure that you have like of your own safety net to support you during the time where it's like, yeah, like you're paying bills that you didn't even realize that you had.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one thing on the business side that athletic trainers don't understand with the pay is you technically are
Hmm.
getting paid more than the dollar amount. It's just everything that's included within that the
Right.
department organization is providing you. And because we can't physically see it on the piece of paper or observe it, it
Exactly.
just goes out of
It
sight,
doesn't
out of
it
mind,
doesn't
and
count
we
up
don't
here.
think. Yes. So that is one of the things that I keep trying to bring to light is okay, the safety portion is that you have a lot of benefits that a private athletic trainer does not have. And, I think with the hourly rate debate, those are things that need to be taken into account.
Right.
If you are working full time, that does offset and you can have a more competitive rate. But,
Yeah.
it's so individualized to each person and we keep trying to box it in. And I don't think that's right either.
Yeah. And it's so hard because like everybody's gonna always like be like, oh, I want that, or you know what I'm saying? Like, why does he have that and I don't have that? And it's such a
Yeah.
hard profession because we're all trying to grow, but none of us grow like equally together. And
Yep.
it's really tough. There's actually I have a book that every athletic trainer should read. Let me grab it real quick. It's right here.
Okay, perfect.
It is called AT at the End of the Bench by Robert
Okay.
Bradley. And this is Robert sent me this. I think that before anybody gets into the field of athletic training, like this, they should have to read this book because
Yeah.
he breaks down pretty much exactly what we just discussed of like, look, like, you know, the pay's not going to be equal. Don't break down your hourly salary or hourly pay because it's just going to make you depressed. You know, he gets into the lifestyle quality, you know, it's like you're going to miss family events. You're going to do like so many things that like you are like innately against, but yet
Mm-hmm.
we still have this drive to be like, I want to be an athletic trainer. And
Yep.
it's it's tough. It's a hard profession. It sucks. Like, but
Yeah.
you know, like we do it because we love it. You know, at the end of the day, like we're all gym rats. We all want to be around sports. We want to be around our athletes. So nonetheless, every athletic trainer or want to be athletic trainer needs to read this book because it breaks down everything from livelihood, salaries to progression of your career. You know, looks at the pros and cons of it, how we relate to PTs. Um, but just this should be like day one before you get into athletic training. Like read this and make sure you actually like you you know what you're getting into. So cannot recommend this enough. Robert Bradley, Amazon, everybody, highly recommend.
Okay. Well, I'll put that on the bookshelf on my website and put it on LinkedIn also for people to read.
Yeah,
But as we talk about preparing into athletic training, you know, the safety nets that you talked about, which I think are super important, I think that's a great segue into, you know, why you made the certification and the summit. And, you
yeah,
know, these are different ways for you to make an income, but they're also, I think, great for the athletic trainer to listen to and learn from. So if you want to get into that and why you decided to do that, what inspired it?
yeah. Um, yeah, kind of like just what we were talking about. Like when I was at UCLA, it was I had a lot of people start to reach out to me on like Instagram and social media, asking me like how I uh, manage my rehabs more or less, and
Hmm.
just would find I found that like people knew the basics of rehab, but they didn't quite know like how to advance somebody. Like what are the things that you know people need to assess and check off the list when they are doing like a ankle sprain return to play? Like, how many times are you looking at like objective data? Or are you just going like, hey, you
Hmm.
feel good? Can you get some jump shots up and get out there? Great. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different markers that I tend to look at, I suppose, that I was just giving out to everybody, which I had no issues with. But I was like, there's got to be a way to package this all up and make it um not just like profitable for me but like just make it so that like everybody can have it all at once if they wanted to. So that was kind of the basis for ARC. um
Hmm.
was for that. EscaLAte was supposed to be a meetup at a bar with a bunch of friends and just kind of talk about athletic training and just, you know, coaching talk, whatever it might be. And, you know, somebody was like, oh, well, like maybe you should like do a talk or something like that. And then it turned into like, oh, well, if I do that, like maybe we can get a CEU for it or something. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And the next thing you know, like my wife and I are sitting here going like, holy shit, we have 150 people in this room and like what just happened? You know, so um it just again like it was one of those things where the flip side is I'm not a big summit guy or anything like that, like because a lot of the times that when you leave like you don't leave with tangibles and like anything that you can like apply like right then and there. So that was one thing
Hmm.
that I made all my speakers say exactly was like at the end of their talk, like here's three things you can apply right now, you know, with your athletes. So you can go home and you can do these three things per their
Hmm.
discussion. And because I mean, anybody can listen to a talk on, you know, science, research, this or that. And it's like, all right, well, like, what the hell do I do with it? And like, if you can't
Yeah.
do something with it, then it's borderline useless. Then it's just numbers and it's whatever. You have to be able to apply it. So that was the biggest thing with EscaLAte was I wanted everybody there to be able to apply what they're learning immediately upon leaving that weekend. So, yeah, I mean, both have been great. I'm looking to expand on both. I think I finally have the content ready for ARC 2, which would just be like an advancement on it of just kind of more return to place things that people need to continuously look at. Because the thing about like ARC is there's like so much content in it, and like all the feedback from it has been great, but there's so much content packed into like 4 days that like I can do a month-long talk on just the ankle.
Yeah.
It's like, and I have like every joint kind of like compressed into these 4 days, so it's really tough. So I want to make sure that like I expand on it a whole lot more of going, look, when you are dealing with a lower body injury, here are the actual things that when it comes to returning to play, the here's truly how you advance somebody from drill to drill to drill. Once they start meeting this benchmark, here's how you push into this benchmark, whatever it might be. So it would just be to elaborate a whole lot more than what ARC already has. So those are the two things. And then the third thing that I just finished actually is a business class for sports medicine professionals. Actually,
Okay.
if you do have an idea how to take that from the idea into I guess production, because
Yeah.
that's the thing that I did myself and it sucked. But like, cause I had no roadmap. So this is pretty much providing a roadmap for like athletic trainers or strength coaches, whoever to kind of follow the method of designing their own arc or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Um, was there any difficulties creating the content?
For
I mean, other
arc,
than jamming it all in?
yeah, I mean, it was more so the honestly the biggest thing is when you're designing things like that, it's almost like putting something out on social media or not, but it's like, what if I'm wrong? What if people hate this? What if
Yeah.
I hate the way I sound and I'm just sitting here talking forever? There's just so many like different like it's probably more of like a like self struggle thing of just going like like you're just second guessing yourself.
Hmm.
Obviously, like the athletic training basics, like kind of remain the same, but there's just so much to it that we're just like you're putting out so much. Like I have some wild takes. Like I'm a fascia guy. Not a lot of people like fascia. I have different ways to kind of treat and train muscle versus fascia stuff. So it's like somebody might be sitting there going like, "This guy's a whack job," and probably we're probably right, but there's just kind of from that aspect that that's the toughest part when it comes to like actually creating things and putting it out there, especially on like the mass scale, and then having it certified. Like I don't want people to take the class and be like, well, that was the biggest waste of my money. It's like,
Hmm.
sure, I got the CEUs, but that class sucked. So I wanted to create something that it's like I would want to go to. Same thing with like EscaLAte. Like I created like something that was like this would be kind of my dream little um summit or conference to go to. So that was that whole uh reasoning and backing behind it. But it's scary, man. I'm not gonna lie. When you put something out there, it's like this shit's scary because what if it sucks? What if it flops? And you just
Yeah.
spent all this time like trying to grow it and um it just doesn't happen. Like it's scary.
Yeah. Well, since the summit and the continuing education are so different, what are your measures of success for these two different entities? Now, more than ever, athletic trainers are becoming inundated with the growing volumes and sources of data surrounding clinical injury management. In fact, the purpose of data has changed. Whether it's pre-participation examinations, electronic medical records, concussion management, nutrition, or wearable devices, athletic trainers are constantly faced with new and complicated challenges interpreting data to drive patient care outcomes, reduce injury rates, and show practitioner value. To get ahead of this change, athletic training departments turn to Preventix, a data analytics solution provider. With over 25 years of athletic training and clinical data experience, Preventix empowers athletic training and sports medicine organizations with tools necessary to quantify the impact of care interventions on patient success and outcomes. As a trusted partner, Preventix works with you to build a strategy that addresses your specific pain points, integrating all your data sources, providing clean, reliable data, dashboards, and metrics that can be immediately accessed by stakeholders at the point of care. Don't let messy, siloed data continue to negatively impact your care delivery initiatives and practitioner value. Unlock the power of your clinical data today. Visit Preventix.com for more information. Preventix.com.
I fully rely on people's feedback, and
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, there's been people that have like commented on ARC that were like, look, like it just wasn't my thing. And then I've had other people say like that was the best CEU class I've ever taken.
Yeah.
Same thing with like EscaLAte. I had one person just absolutely run it to the ground. And then I had other people go like, this was by far and large um, the greatest court or summit that I've ever been to, So I guess I measure it based on how I feel afterwards, which is not objective at all. But, there's been times where it's like, when I was kind of prepping for ARC, I was like, man, like, how is this gonna truly be? And um, yeah, it all worked out for lack of better words. It just same thing. I've never been more stressed in my life than when EscaLAte came up. Like I was losing my mind. I felt bad for everybody around, and I truly wish I could like relive that weekend because I didn't get to enjoy it like everyone else did because I was so stressed about every small thing from happening. Food
Yeah.
delivery, Wi-Fi so that the live streamers could connect. It just like one thing after another. So it's like I just truly couldn't like just I wanted to just sit there and be like a student of it all. And the stress of it was insane. So it was just like um I couldn't. But then like at the end of it, I thought it was a shit show. And everybody was like, this was the greatest conference we've been to. And I'm like, I don't even know what just happened the last 48 hours. Like I just blacked out the whole 48 hours, so um just yeah, it's just yeah, I just measure success based on like people's responses. That's a big roundabout way to say like just people's responses and kind of that post class or conference like feel of success, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I think people forget that there's the knowledge portion that athletic trainers are really good at. Then there's the production portion of it, which
Yeah,
athletic trainers are usually pretty good at, but that business side of it, of behind the scenes, nobody gets to see. So when you're in the middle of it,
right.
you don't think anything is going right because it's just one thing after another that usually lines up.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was just like so many like pieces to it from making sure that we had ice for the bottle of water. Just like so many like small random things that you're like you just don't think about until you're in the moment, and it's a lot. And but
Hmm.
when it happens, it's great.
Yep. So looking at the broader picture of these two things, have you noticed a ripple effect? People networking, collaborating, like what have you seen in the bigger picture of these two things you provided the community?
Yeah, the biggest thing was the connection from definitely the people. So like I'll say this. So from EscaLAte, I wanted to have like a teacher style like classroom like setup, and everybody's like, no,
Hmm.
like do round tables. And I was like, that's stupid. And then, but we ended up doing round tables, and what it did was and this is 100% my wife's idea, but it forced people to communicate. So it forced a lot of collaborations to happen, a lot of people to truly meet face to face, and they were sitting there, talking over and over. Well, then because of that, the collaborations and connections between the sponsors, speakers, and the attendees, because they were all sitting there in one room, that it forced so much collaboration that happened to where like some of the sponsors, they signed a big deal with like one of the schools, for from a recovery aspect. In Creditware, they did, however much in sales, just connections with like local athletic trainers in LA, being able to give them product. Um, and then it just kind of boomed, but I truly do think, like, hindsight, it was like having people sit in one room, like having to look at each other and communicate is really what it was. So um it's just yeah, it was just one of those things, and just
Yeah.
people have taken it, and like, now I'm getting messages all the time like, can't wait for the next EscaLAte, or anything like that. So it's definitely like had it's definitely grown for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of want to have you on because NATA conference has been a hot topic across athletic training of, the numbers have been declining. People aren't very interested in going. I
I've
think
never
a
even
lot of
been.
athletic trainers are confused on what they're supposed to be getting out of it. So it was, on a smaller scale, obviously states and regions are doing smaller conferences, but I wanted to see from your summit like some of the takeaways that you thought went really well. And I do think, you know, at these NATA conferences, everybody's thrown into a huge conference hall with multiple rooms.
Hmm.
How are you actually supposed to navigate and connect with people that, have the same thoughts, need, some feedback, need the sponsorship, partnerships, those kind of
Yep.
conversations. And I still feel like there's some dysfunction on how it flows, even some of these sessions where it's just lecture. Um, how do you bring the crowd into the conversation a little bit better? And so I think, talking about the
Yeah.
roundtables was very interesting.
Yeah, it was that, like I said, I've never been to NATA. I have no idea what it looks like. But I can say this: I have no idea who speaks at NATA, and
Yeah.
for that reason alone, I would never go. And
Yeah.
so the what I wanted to do was, uh, for EscaLAte, was I wanted to bring in people that have um you know I wanted to bring in people that challenge the status quo to speak to everybody. And
Yeah.
from that, also, like, don't get me wrong, again, social media plays a part in this. I wanted to bring in some people with like some higher social media followings, because again, people want to hear from them. So like
Yeah.
there's
It's
that component as
access.
well. It's access.
Yeah.
I hope that people think it's like that with me, well, and whatnot. But it's like I wanted to be able to like provide this at such at a high level. And again, like maybe that's what
Mhm.
NATA is missing. I don't know. I don't know who runs NATA. Like, could not tell you anybody within that organization. And if they ever need like a breath of fresh air, hit me up. Because not saying that I could like change the NATA conference around, but like I could probably like give it some ideas. And
Yeah.
that was just one of the things that I think that, or I guess one thing that I think that could really help that conference and probably like push some life into athletic training, is just getting some people in there like that that are known. Another person that I think about is like Mike Stella. I don't know if you know Mike
Yeah.
Stella. He's a private practice athletic trainer, but like him and I see eye to eye on a lot of things, from athletic training to um, just our profession in general. But uh,
Yeah.
people need kind of a wake up call. And like that, when you ask like what the feedback was and whatnot, um, one of the biggest compliments that was on a lot of the forums was that people said that they felt like rejuvenated and revitalized within their career after leaving
Hmm.
EscaLAte. And I mean, if nothing else happened, that was the biggest compliment that I could have gotten from that event.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great point that I feel NATA is just so safe. They want to be
Hmm.
politically correct most of the time. And I think a great thing would be host a debate. You know, Mike Stella is very against ice. Have him go up
Yeah.
against somebody that still thinks ice is amazing and just have them do a regular debate. And, you know, it challenges the mind and it gets people thinking, you know, throughout the conversation and what they can take away and then reapply. You know,
Hmm.
ice still has some uses, but maybe it changes their perspective or challenges it a little bit more so that they actually reflect on their patient care. I think sometimes we
Yep.
get into our rivets and we're not challenged or pushed out of that rivet enough. And I've
Yeah.
also
People just don't
thought,
want to
you know,
change too.
well, yeah, it's easy because they're so overwhelmed. You might as well just
Yeah.
keep the same patterns. It's been working so far. Or even having, like you said, people that or speakers that people want to see. I always thought Dana White would be an amazing speaker because he runs a successful sports medicine business with the
Yep.
UFC. Like, you know, and
Yeah.
people know that name
Absolutely.
and would want to hear him talk. So why
Yeah.
aren't, I
You
mean, I know
gotta
it
you
costs
gotta bring
money.
people in that are willing that people are want to listen to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
that's just
Or
the
even
end all
some
be
more
all.
leadership conversations. I don't like, I think some of the soft skills should be harped on more often at these big conferences because we have so much access to domain 1 through 4. Let's get a little bit
Hmm.
more of that domain 5 of what we're not touching super heavily in the programs about. So let's put it at a professional level with professional speakers, a little bit more ambiguous philosophy, I would say, presenters, I think, would be more sparking of conversation and networking. Because, I mean, like, everybody can talk about the ankle all day, but it's not going to push them to talk to somebody else about their, you know, theories and all
Exactly.
that stuff. So we just need it to be a little bit more sparking of conversation, I think. So,
That's all it is.
um,
I mean, that's really all it
yeah.
is changing the landscape and the ideology. Look, I get a lot of shit for saying this, and I'll say it again, but like athletic trainers are a lazy profession. It's just, and it's not due to them actually being lazy. It's like you said, it's due to them being overwhelmed. Their workload is way too high, and it's very easy to just stay within your own safety net if you know what works. But like I'll say this, like the more advanced I've gotten in my career, like even when I was at UCLA, the the less I've truly worked with like hands-on work because the more I learned how to like improve athletes through just instructing them on, you know, movement patterns, having them, just like agree to buy in on like small little things to where like instead of having to do 10, 20, 30 minutes of table treatment time of like true hands-on to where I'm more instructing. Everything kind of goes into like a coaching, like instructional basis model, and it's worked
Hmm.
phenomenal with that. So,
Yeah.
and I would encourage every athletic trainer to do things like that. It's okay to bucket your athletes if you're a high school athletic trainer and you have, 50 kids come walking in at once. Well, like it's pretty easy to bucket them and go, here are the ways that we can, I can manage you 10 over here, you 10 over here. And these are the things that you're going to do because you guys all need this certain thing. And I think that that's one thing that like athletic trainers really need to learn how to do to where it's not one-on-one care, but it's almost like coaching, strength and conditioning, right? I can get them, you know, I can get a group of 20 people all doing the same thing because they all need that same thing. And then, hey, after we do these first two blocks, all right, you just need a single leg stand. You just need, you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like, then you can kind of piece it apart. But it goes from that individual athletic trainer mindset of rehab to I can control the entire room very
Hmm.
easily and simplistic too. Now, a big piece of that is like obviously you have to have a pretty big like rehab exercise bank kind of rolling through your head, but it's more than able to be done. And it actually doesn't have to be that big. You just have to have your own like kind of basis and flow with it. But
Yeah.
that's a big piece to it.
Well, and I think we don't play up some of our strengths. We are very good at referring, which also is delegating. So it's being able to communicate with your strength and conditioning coach. This is what I'm seeing. Can you write this into the program? Can you incorporate these different things? Boom,
That
somebody
too.
else is doing it. That person is taken care of. You know, if they need to go see, I don't know, massage therapist, some sort of specialist for that condition, you have somebody in your pocketbook, send them there. So I think we're trying so hard to show our value that we're not actually using it efficiently enough. And I think that's where a lot of the burnout comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And yeah, it's just, utilize your skills the best that you can. It's just that it's that simple. And like you said, you could even delegate it into your student athletes. Hey, look,
Yeah.
like I'm going to teach you these 2 exercises, and I just want you to become really good at them. And then when all of a sudden 3 other athletes come walking in, like, hey, I need you to show them your 2
Yeah.
exercises and have them do
Yeah.
it. Like we all know that soft tissue, manual therapy, all the modalities in the world, they're all bullshit unless you follow it up with exercise. I'm not a big science and research guy, but that is the one thing that has been proven over and over again is that like after manual therapy, all the modalities that we do, if it's not followed up in that transient window with exercise, we're probably not achieving as much as we think we are. So we might as well like kind of work that angle and attack it like it.
Yeah. It's really directing the team and even just the assistant coach. Hey, we need to do these activation drills during the warm up, whatever. It's just, how do you make your life easier? And I don't think we're very good at that. We're very self-dependent on, the attention that people give because they need us. We want to be needed all the time. And there's different ways that you can be needed all the time that elevate your skill set. It might be a little bit more hard work at the beginning of the season or whatever, but if you can go through the practice schedule and, talk it through with the coach, that could save you a lot of time and effort.
Absolutely.
Prevention, ultimately, proper loading, those types of things. So yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
It sounds bad that we are calling the profession lazy, but I don't think we are at the point of being smart enough to make life easier for us also.
Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely. And it's just, there has to be that drive, that innate drive that I feel like when we all came to school and we're like, yes, we want to do this. And like everybody's young and hungry. It's like, you cannot lose that mindset because as soon as you do lose that mindset, you're screwed. Absolutely. Like it's over with. It's over for you. It's over for the athletes. It's over for you and your relationship with the coach, because then you're just going to be sitting there going like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not happy here. Like, why are we dealing with this? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's some of the patterns that we keep reinforcing from the clinical sites and from the education program is, yes, we need to learn these basics, but let's, take it the next level. And how do we learn it so we can be efficient with it and delegate it to the proper people? But we're so dead set that you need the reps, which are good, but, afterwards, how are you going to pass that off to someone else?
Exactly.
So,
that's exactly right.
So you're flirting with the idea of having another EscaLAte. That would be in Texas, correct?
Yep. I had a walkthrough yesterday about looking at a spot, just gotta make sure it all works out. The tough part is that obviously we're still early on into the planning stages, but this Dallas is one of the host spots for the World Cup coming in.
Oh yeah.
And it's all during June, July, and ending in August, which is right in the middle of like trying to do it here. So there's lack of space because every team has came in and they rented out their own spots and stuff like that. The other thing that I'm trying to kind of do the workaround with is that first weekend of June, which is when we did it last year, is also during the NBA Finals. And the Mavericks should be very good this year and hopefully make the NBA Finals. So, excuse me, I can't plan an event and then all of a sudden have the Mavericks make the NBA Finals, and then me go like, well, I can't be there. So we have some bridges to cross, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're floating around with that idea, like I said. But in the meantime, definitely um working on the content for ARC 2, and then mainly working with about to start road mapping this business aspect for athletic trainers and sports medicine professionals to actually help them take their ideas and turn it into a quality product for sure that they can then push out to the world.
Yeah, definitely. So if you had any advice to give to athletic trainers in this moment, doesn't have to be long, what would you say to them if they want to create some of these safety nets in the background?
Yeah, what advice would I be? Honestly, the best thing that you can do is invest in yourself and become a one-stop shop. Um, that is something that I have 100% focused on throughout my career, and I think it's the reason why it's now like transpired into me and my relationship with Caleb, in that he can come to me for anything. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
if we're doing manual therapy, if we're doing exercises, the full like strength block, um, or it's just like having my network of people. And that quote, your net worth is your network, couldn't be more true, because I continuously rely on my network to help me achieve the big goals and the small goals. Like even, you know, like this weekend, Caleb wants to go up to Frisco or something like that. Well, it's like that's far enough away from Dallas. It's like we need to find a gym space up there. My network has helped me leverage, working, getting into the Star, wherever we might go. So it's like invest in yourself. Get as many early on in your career, get as many like qualifications and certifications. Like learn as much as you can as you get
Yeah.
older in your career. Hone those skills, and then from there you like grow your network. That is by far like the best advice I can give, because without those, like, you're probably just gonna I don't think you'll last in the profession. You'll just get ran out of it, or you'll get burned out, one of the two.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, if anybody wanted to connect with you or follow you on your channels, what's the best way to do that?
Probably Instagram. It's dr.tlesh. um and then I'm pretty active on there. LinkedIn. I have 0 followers on TikTok, but I post, and I guess if people wanted to get in touch with me there, they could. But yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, by far the best.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. It was great talking about safety nets. I think that's an
Hmm.
important part of athletic training, and we are the one-stop shop, as you said, and I think you can market that really well if you are smart enough to get that out there
Absolutely.
to the public. So, well, I
Absolutely.
hope to have you on again, and then
Whenever.
let me know when the Texas thing pans out, and we'll get some commercials up to let people know.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of To The Bone. I hope we've sparked some new thoughts, challenged your perspectives, or simply reminded you to dig a little deeper. Remember, life isn't just about what's on the surface. Sometimes you've got to cut deeper and get to the bone of what really matters. To The Bone podcast is a product of Daily LLC. It is hosted and produced by Shelby Daly, ATC, and Randy Daly. No clinical decision-making should be based solely on one source. While care is taken to ensure accuracy, factual errors can be present. For more on the show, visit www.tothebonepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Get involved in the conversation. You can find us at www.tothebonepodcast.com. Drop us topic suggestions or be a potential guest. We're all about connecting with you, our listeners. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep cutting deep.